Love isn't something that someone can give to you or take away from you. Love is not confined in another person. Love isn't a feeling. Love is a way of being. It is you coming home to yourself and you therefore extending this feeling of home to the whole world. It's you finding your place in this life. What happens is what people usually call love is that you meet someone, you find someone who has a key to unlock you on a deeper level. And that's why you start feeling home only with that person. And they become like an addiction. When they're next to you, you feel love. When they're not next to you, you do not feel love. But they're simply a tool for you to unlock yourself on a deeper level. Hawkins has a scale of consciousness in which love takes a place of 500. It has this score. Hawkins also talks about how addictions are developed in order to mute the lower states of consciousness and therefore bring ourselves higher to the higher states of consciousness. And this is what happens when you find that addiction in another person. This is what happens when you fall in love with someone and you now desperately want them. Through them, you can mute your suffering. But your goal here will be to actually merge with that person in terms of your consciousness and take that key away from them in order to be able to unlock those doors on your own, in order for you to do inner work, which will result in you muting that suffering of yours. And that is why, as a result, coming up to the higher levels of consciousness. When you fall in love with someone deeply, you have a reason to do that because you know how you will feel once that is done. You taste the love. And you now have a choice. Either you merge and you take that key back to yourself and you raise yourself, you know yourself deeper, or you continue your life in a denial without that feeling of home within yourself. So you have your point of observation of life. And then you have another person. And you're so close to each other internally that in that person you see yourself on a deeper level. So you actually taste what it is like to know yourself deeper and to have these higher levels of awareness. If you take the key away from that person, it will only happen once you go deeper within yourself. So you're so close to each other internally. Some part of you at this point of your life is close to their inner part as well. And it creates like this bridge, this current. When you know yourself here, not on the level of that bridge, you perceive this different point of observation, this different person as something outside of you. That is because at this point you lack awareness to recognize that that feeling that they activate has always been within you. It has no other place to be because all your reality is generated from within you. So you have this intention, you have this desire, even if you do not realize it yet, to actually go deep within yourself in order to uncover yourself on the depths that that feeling is generated for another. You have to, through that relationship, through that other person, understand who you truly are. You have to get to this depths of yourself on which you are close with that another person and on which love is generated. When you dig inside of yourself to the depths, you realize that that feeling has always been within you. So now this feeling of love that they were generating inside of you is accessible to you by yourself because you're finally not distracted to the certain parts of your ego. You are not distracted to certain parts of your personality that have been telling you that you cannot feel that love by yourself. Your identity, something that you believe about yourself, something how you consider yourself to be, is blocking the depths of yourself from you. It is distracting you from your true essence. So when you meet someone who is like a mirror showing to you who you truly are on a deeper scale, you hold on to that reflection, you hold on to that mirror, but you do not realize yet that it is within you, that it's simply reflecting to you something that has always been inside of you. So your goal will be to cut out those parts of your identity, to cut out those negative beliefs about yourself that make you hold on to a certain ego of yourself that doesn't let you act from your true essence, which is love itself, and let them go, and go to a depth within yourself in order to convert love, that feeling that you have been seeing in the reflection of another person, into your way of living. You take that point of observation, which is in another person, and you merge it within you. Until you merge, that feeling of love that you have towards another person is very often changed to hate. It is manifested through jealousy, it is manifested through you being rude with them, trying to possess them, trying to control them, because your well-being, your feeling of love depends on them. This is why when they refuse to act a certain way, the way you need, when their point of observation, their personality is clashing with your personality, you're in pain. So for you to stop that, you have to merge, and together with this merging, you go deeper within yourself. So your parts of identity that do not let you be in love with yourself, find that feeling inside of you, and actually be in love with life. These parts of your identity do not let you love this another person fully. This is when you complain about them, this is when you gossip about them, and this isn't love. This is you having a fight within yourself. This is you because you do not love yourself. You are not in love with yourself truly on the deepest level. That's why you cannot be in love with someone else. So you can only purify that feeling of love and actually truly love another person when you get rid of that dependency. And you get rid of this dependency when you get rid of these parts of your identity that actually do not belong to you, that are actually superficial, that do not let you come down to the level of depth within yourself. When you do that inner work, when you use this relationship as it is intended, meaning you getting to know yourself better, you being who you truly are, you meeting your true self, you merge with another because you now can love them. So your ability to love increases. And even though we go through this whole process, once we are deeply in love, once we meet someone with whom we are close internally, once this process is done, once you arrive to a feeling of home within yourself, once you love yourself unconditionally, this process can be repeated, and it starts being repeated with anyone who you meet, because love becomes the way of living. If we are a manifestation of life, a manifestation of God on earth, each one of us is this manifestation. When you arrive to the point of love, when you love yourself unconditionally, when you love life unconditionally, you now know yourself at the depths of this life. You now know yourself at the depths of a pure, deep consciousness. So these superficial parts of your identity that never belonged to you, that were simply a baggage that you were carrying your whole life, something that you inherited from society, something that you inherited from your parents, something that you inherited from your past experiences. This baggage is dropped. The superficial parts of your personality, the superficial traits that do not hold you on top, on that superficial level anymore. The superficial level that makes you think that you are separate from everyone else. So when you go down deeper to the level of pure love, you start perceiving everyone from the standpoint of that current that we all share. And the deeper you go there, the more you merge with others. You start using everyone as a reflection. You start realizing that when you judge another person, this is coming from the parts of your identity that still believe that they're separate. And you actually have that within you. You start realizing that when you're angry with someone, you hold on to a duality in your head that makes you think that something is right and something is wrong. So you start using that. Through that mechanism of the first love, of the first deep relationship, you are now able to multiply your love, to extend that feeling to everyone. And through that mechanism, you grow because you have finally realized how it actually works and what it is actually given to you for. When you are truly in love with someone, even before you merge, you can have those moments of pure presence with them. This is when you look in the eyes of your beloved and you merge. You do not think in your head what is right, what is wrong, what have they done, how do I look, what do I say, how do I appear so they like me. You simply are there. You perceive the whole moment as one. If you have experienced that feeling, or once you do experience that feeling, take it and really immerse yourself inside of it, because this is the feeling that the more you go deeper into yourself and to that underlying current that we all share, the more you share this feeling with anyone who you interact with. So what I'm saying is that when you fall deeply in love with someone who is for the first time reflecting to you your true essence, which is always love, you're simply tasting that feeling for the first time. They're simply a tool for you to uncover this new state of being, this new way of living. But once you take that relationship and you use it as intended, you now live in that state. So you can share it with anyone who you interact with, and the separation between you and another person ceases to exist. It can seem kind of scary because when that happens, you cease to exist. You as a separate person ceases to exist because you drop your standpoint and you go to a depth that we all share. That's why, because it can seem scary, people protect their point of observation, they protect their personality, they protect their identity. They want to hold on to what they think is right about themselves, to how they think they should live. And that's why, how Ram Dass describes it, you can often see the dance between two people who are in love with each other going like this, that one is chasing, another one is running, and then they switch. Because, as Ram Dass says, this is our karmic attachment to separateness. We do not indulge in love. This is a conspiracy that takes us away, keeps us away from falling in love. Because when we fall in love, we cease to exist. But when you do take courage to cease to exist, this is the most beautiful thing that can happen to you, because you now discover the true way, the true essence of life and what it takes to be a human being. So your love, your admiration for another is simply something that you have within yourself and that you are bound to uncover if you just follow that feeling. When you defend your identity, you limit your perception of reality to your own eyes, to the walls that you have built around yourself. But when you allow yourself to merge with this another person, you merge the points of observation, you break the walls around yourself, and that's why you grow. And this growth really has no limit. It can go on, go on, go on until your mind is totally still, until it is in mute, and all the separation ceases to exist. And even though love is most oftenly talked in the context of between two people, love is also something that you can have for the craft you're doing. It is something that you can have basically in any activity of your life. Because coming back to the first point, love is a state of being, it is not a feeling. That's why the greatest art is created when people forget themselves. Why? Because they cease to exist in terms of their own identity and they dive deep to that current and they now create from love. They now have this connection to the source and they allow it to create through them. That can only happen when you cease to exist. Because even now, when you do your job, if you are not there yet, you can track how while you're doing the job, you're following certain rules. You're following certain notions. Oh, this has to be this way. I have to write this. I have to make this document a certain way. You're holding on to your identity. It can be said this way. You're holding on to your ego in terms of these rules coming from your head. And this is how you create. But when you are truly in love with your craft, when you're merging with your craft, you create without any rules because you create from the state of love. And this is how something unique can be created. When you create from your memory, when you create from your head, when you create thinking how other people have named it, what have they done? Let me see, let me gather data and create from this data. You follow a linear paradigm. You try to outdo yourself. You try to create, but it is never a creation because it is always based on something that has been here before. But when you connect to that source, when you finally take your memory out of the equation, you have a chance of creating something brand new and unique because you let God speak through you. You let consciousness create through you. You unlock that source within yourself that is actually capable of making art. This is why we often have certain creations of art that no one can understand, even though they look quite simple on a superficial level. And we have people who are creating something seemingly much more complex, but they're not succeeding in their job because the first ones have gotten their inspiration from the source. This is why the greatest artists, whatever forms they take, whether it is art in the conventional sense of it, or it is science, and Albert Einstein is a very good example of it, the greatest artists are grateful for their gift. They often say that it is not them who created that. They often say that it is something that simply flew through them and was created through them. They're grateful for that gift because they detach themselves from their work, because they know they haven't filtered that work through their identity. That's why, in the sense, it leaves them with a feeling that it's not them who really created that, because they know how insignificant they, in terms of their personality, are in this whole process. This is what true love is. And when you uncover that way of being, you take it wherever you go. It is just there with you. You live from that. And this is why everything that you touch has the highest vibration possible, because it seems as you are not there anymore. You do not let your walls, your own judgments about life and about people get in the way of life. This is also the moment where you realize that love has always been there. Love can be found in anyone you interact with. Love is not dependent on that one person that you fell in love with. Because now, once you took that relationship, once you took that tool and you actually used it, and you uncovered love in yourself, now you know that when you are truly in love with yourself, when you leave from that state, when you're in love with yourself and you let it flow through you, you can actually be in love with everyone and anything that you interact with. And it also works the other way around. You understand why you weren't experiencing true love with anyone before, because you simply weren't in love with yourself. Whatever you have inside is what you get in the external reality, is what you get in the external world. This is why only when you have love for yourself, love that doesn't take the form of a certain characteristic, love that is unconditional, love that is you coming home and you accepting yourself without any judgment, only then can you light up the way for your whole life. Love becomes like this light, and once you have it inside of you, you see its reflection in everything and everyone that you interact with.